Welcome to the March 22nd, 2018 episode of Reactive Consciousness, the in-depth podcast about what happened this week in our lives. I am your host, vysethebold, and this is...
Lotus Prince.
And OldManStompy.
And for some reason, I can never say the intro straight.
Welcome to Reactive Consciousness. I'm vysethebold. This is... just drop all the pretense. Hey guys, what's up? It's our new podcast.
Fuck it, we're live.
Yeah.
I always stumble over stuff. It's because I can barely read.
He thrusts his fists against the posts and still insists he sees the ghosts.
I'm Garcia Hotspur.
Oh yeah, I get it.
So anyway, this week we had something rather sad happen. Kind of a sign of the times, I'm afraid. But Toys R Us passed away. So I definitely saw it coming even before the bankruptcy news. But
I was gonna say that was years ago, right?
No, the first indication of it to me was when they closed their Times Square store. That was their flagship store in the United States. So like them closing like their flagship store is a bad
That's not good.
sign. It's a bad sign because those stores are not especially supposed to be money makers, but they're supposed to be the face of the company.
Yeah.
So therefore having them is extremely important. For brand recognition. It's something that people look forward to going to. Like I probably went into that Toys R Us more than even my own Toys R Us when in my own town. So even growing up, like because that was a fun store to go into. I mean, they had a Ferris wheel and everything in there, and they had like a gigantic Lego display and all this other stuff. So it's really a shame. There's no major toy retailer on. They were the most major toy-specific toy retailer out there.
Yeah.
Of course, you still have them in a lot of other smaller shops or
large places that also have toys.
Yeah, the big toy retailers from now on that will be physical brick-and-mortar locations will probably still be Walmart and Target and other big box stores of its ilk.
Yeah.
But it's a shame because going to Toys R Us when we were kids was like the coolest thing, like because it was a very special occasion. You got to go there because not only like I don't know about your parents, but my parents like would need to take a special trip to go to Toys R Us because it wasn't like in the mall, it was out. It was off tangentially to the mall, so they would have to know that they were bringing it specifically to Toys R Us.
Well, here's the funny thing about that, because I had a similar situation to you, but the opposite effect. Like, I mean, I feel bad for the employees of Toys R Us because their stores are closed. But
that's another point.
What was it?
That's another point.
Yeah, like that's the main thing that bothers me. But like, as far as Toys R Us disappearing, I don't really feel much of anything about that, because the thing with me is that, yes, when I went to Toys R Us, it was a special trip because it was not in the mall, and to make things even, not to make things worse, but like to stack onto that, I guess I could say, is that the Toys R Us that was near me was not a long trip, but it was an inconvenient one because it was down Route 1, a little longer than the mall would have been. But on top of that, once you leave the Toys R Us, you can't just turn around and go home. You had to keep driving down Route 1 for a few more minutes until you got to a U-turn, and that U-turn was kind of a nuisance. So my mom actively disliked going to Toys R Us for the trip. The store was still cool, but like, usually I got, like, I didn't really have, like, buy, like, action figures or that many toys as a kid. Maybe some Lego sets or something, but my shopping was more done at the mall or, like, the Best Buy off separately, or, like, KB Toys, which was much closer and more convenient. There's no more KBs either, but, like, so I haven't been to Toys R Us in probably 20 years. So, like, I know a lot of people on the internet might be like, oh, no, Toys R Us, but it's like, what are you complaining about? When's the last time you went there? Like, I'm not going to lament this store that I just never went to. You know, like it's just like how when like a famous artist or musician dies, everyone's like, oh no, and it's like, you haven't listened to that person's music in 20 years, you forgot he existed until just now, and now you remember how good their stuff was. So that's kind of the situation for me. Like, on principle, I feel bad that Toys R Us is gone, but like, I don't even remember what the inside of mine looked like. Like, I haven't been there since I was a kid.
Who invited you to be on this podcast anyway? You fucking killjoy.
Literally, Vice all the time. Like, so I mean, it's bad that Toys R Us is gone, but it's bad that Toys R Us is gone, but I'm not sad about it. Like, again, I feel bad from a pragmatic, like, employee perspective, but like, I don't know. I'll see what they replace it with. The one that's near me, I guess. I don't know if I'll go there either.
I mean, it was in the same vein, like, as when FAO Schwartz chains closed down, because that also was a toy chain that had a signature location in Manhattan. They used to really
that's the only one I ever was at, was the Manhattan one. When it was gone, I was like, oh.
So, in that case, I actually, like, I found an FAO Schwartz in Las Vegas, and, like, I blew my fucking mind that they had the DDR machine that used to be in the Rutgers Student Center.
Yo!
I was like, what is this doing here? It had all the high scores from like all the old Rutgers students.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's
Otherwise,
crazy.
how would I know it's the same machine?
Yeah, it's true. That's incredible.
But yeah, so those are also all gone too, although they kept the Manhattan, like someone purchased, just like the Blockbuster videos, how there's still like some Blockbusters open in the Pacific
There's
Northwest.
that one in Alaska.
Yeah, they're most likely like fronts for meth rings or something, but like whatever.
No. I think the one in Alaska, like their Twitter account, like it capitalizes on this. Like they're like, we're the one Blockbuster around, like the one left, and it's just kind of funny because of that.
Sure. So I would imagine the Manhattan Toys R Us actually was open quite a bit longer than after it initially was supposed to close down. I remember I purchased the SNES Classic there, so it that was
nice.
That was like right before
Christmas.
Christmas. Yeah. I don't think it was the exact same location, but it was still like close to the Times Square area. And I would imagine if someone feels the value in it, they might purchase the brand and reopen the store in that location because, like you said, it's a loss leader. You know, it's intended to promote awareness and thumbs up and 5-star ratings
and keep the show going.
Any bit of encouragement will help keep Toys R Us going.
Or not.
At this point, yes. I have like a really personal relationship with Toys R Us, but for like stupid reasons. I mean, of course, I loved going there. For toys when I was a kid. I actually lived really close to a Toys R Us. And like the Toys R Us was on the way to the grocery store, so just like Vice, we would always like go to the grocery store, and if we turned off first to the Toys R Us, I would always be like, yeah, we're going
that's
to
pretty
Toys R
rad.
Us.
Well, see, you were in a unique situation that your family kind of all like is into toys. Like,
Well,
yeah.
Sure, but like there's a practical time for toys. You know, like I liked to go to Toys R Us. You know, I used to like because I've always been a gamer. I used to like picking up the little slips that you would have to bring to the back.
I love that.
You'd have to exchange them for games, and they had this magic room in the back.
Yeah,
when I was 5 years old that I assume must be filled with like every video game on the planet.
Like I recently had somebody on Facebook ask me, like, you remember back when you would bring in slips to the back? Like, no, I don't. Cause,
I remember it.
Yeah, like, I never did that. Like, I think I got my games at Best Buy, where you just take the games in their giant-ass, comically obnoxious plastic cases and bring them to the front where they unlock them there.
Yeah, we had a place also called Service Merchandise that was kind of similar. Like, basically, there was a big warehouse in the back, and you just brought them tickets for almost everything, including video games.
Yeah,
and it would come out on a conveyor belt, and they would just hand it to you after you paid for it.
Yeah, I don't think either I don't remember, or I don't think I've ever actually had that experience.
Yeah, it was really interesting, especially with in Toys R Us. Toys R Us also had like the largest amount of stock for video games than any other company back in the day. I remember them having like Sega CDs way longer than any company should have had Sega CDs on the shelf.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it was just one of those things. It was kind of like going into a museum. Like, there was stuff that was 10 years old you could still buy there.
That's kind of sweet.
Yeah, and for guys like us, we were into the retro stuff before it was even like a really popular thing. Like, it was just kind of cool.
So my when I was in college, my roommates, they went into like a KB Toys and they bought like a Dreamcast for $20, and we were convinced for the longest time that there was something wrong with it. Like, why would a major toy retail? We didn't know anything about the economics of toys and like how anything that isn't a current
getting it
toy,
off the shelf in any way for any amount of money at some point is worth it for them.
Yeah.
They also had like a giant stack of Virtual Boys for like $25 each. And if I'd known those would be such a pain in the ass to get a hold of now, I probably just would have bought one and sucked it up.
By the way, if you're remembering your prices correctly, then I think that's really funny that the Virtual Boy cost more than the Dreamcast.
Yes. Well, I mean, I didn't make these purchases personally. Like this was back in the day before like every store had a centralized computerized computer system, because it was shortly after the advent of the internet. So sometimes the database was out of sync. The most famous instance I can think of was that Metal Gear Solid 3 was $20 when it came out at my local KB Toys.
Oh my
and
God.
I think this was a nationwide thing, but obviously because the systems, I'm sure, were still being updated at the time to allow for the corrections of these errors. Like, you could go to the store and I would like pick it up and I would just like give it to the guy and just like I'm like I don't know, 16 or whatever, and it's like I know I'm getting away with something and I'm a really bad liar. It's sir, could you please tell me how much this video game that usually costs $40 costs?
Exactly.
It's like it's 20. It's like, oh, I guess I will purchase this for this wonderful price.
Well, I think I've mentioned this before, but I had almost the opposite situation.
You were like the fifth kid to do that day, by the way.
That sounds like an excellent value. I'm so glad I came to your store.
Well, no, I think I've mentioned this before, but I had almost the opposite situation where I picked up. This no longer exists, but there was a small chain called Game Trader that used to be near me, and I had picked up Blood Omen, the PS1 game, like the Legacy of Kain, and like the way the store did its pricing was that the new stuff I think was individually priced, like the PS3 and 360 stuff, but like when it got to the I think PS2 stuff was individually priced as well, I think, but the really old stuff, there was like the standout games that had individual prices. Otherwise, the game just rang up as like a nondescript PS1 game for $4. So I picked up Blood Omen Legacy of Kain for $4, and the guy at the counter was like, "This game is worth more than this." Like, but like, no. I mean, no, he didn't raise the price on me, but he was just like, "You're getting a good deal here." Like,
So that was the one that used to be in the mall. Is that the one that replaced the EB Games? Is that what I'm thinking of?
Yes.
Okay. So, like, our mall, the one that near Princeton, where, like, Lotus and I lived at the time, that had an EB Games and a GameStop back when those were separate chains, and even after GameStop purchased, even after they merged, they maintained both of those stores for, like, a surprisingly long amount of time.
Yeah, it was kind of funny, because I'd be like, oh, I don't see what I want here. I'll walk 2 feet down the hallway and check the other game store.
Mm-hmm. And eventually, one of them became they finally stopped renting one of those locations, and it became a Game Trader for a while. Yeah,
which was still pretty cool. And that's Game Trader is where I got Martian Gothic, actually, and a different Game Trader in Pennsylvania is where I got Kuon for like, below retail. It was amazing.
So I guess my my major problem with it all is future generations. So as the way I see it is, you know how it is with being a child. Like, instant gratification is basically the only thing that matters to you. Mm-hmm. Like, saying that you will get something in a week or so does not help. So You could say there are plenty of alternatives to something like, Toys R Us now. You can order anything you want off of Amazon. You can order anything you want off of, BarnesandNoble.com or any number of other websites.
You do miss the sense of wonderment by being surrounded by stuff, though.
This is what I mean. You can, like, this was a special event for me to go in with my parents and pick out something. And it was like a once or twice a year thing. Going into this kind of setting, where it smelled like, bike tires and Lysol.
Yeah. I think Toys R Us is where I got most of my Lego sets, now that I think about it.
Yeah, I mean, going into a toy store, and it was also a special event, where my dad could, or my mom could treat me, to something, hey, you did great on your report card.
Yeah.
like, please, have something good. And it was also a place where you went to buy gifts and stuff like that. So I always really think that it's going to be something that's lost for this generation. They're growing up. Like, when I have kids, they're not going to have something like a Toys R Us, and I think that's kind of sad. I mean, we have instant gratification in other ways that are really good. I mean, downloadable games are pretty much instant gratification too. You feel like playing a game that you don't own, and you could just download it and have it. That's really cool. I like that.
Yeah, but I mean, but this is where we start sounding like old men, though. The thing with except for OldManStompy, who just sounds normal. The thing with the thing that we're missing, though, is that, like, you do miss the level of social interaction required to go out in public and look for stuff as well. Like, I could stay locked up in my room and, like, download whatever I want all day, but, like, not that I expect people to have conversations with the store clerk, and there are some countries where that's, like, really not a thing anyway, but, like, still to go out and do something. And even if you're with your friends shopping or something, it's like you missed that as well.
So I remember I went, speaking of exactly what you're talking about, I remember I went to a GameStop, and I wanted the second Luigi's Mansion game.
Yeah.
And the guy told me, like, oh, we don't have that in stock, but we'll sell you a downloadable copy. And I was like, why would I bother to leave my fucking bedroom and come all the way down the street to buy something I could have downloaded in my own home? And he didn't care what I had to say. I was in the phase where I just wanted to be the old man yelling at GameStop employees for the next, like, 5 years or so.
Actually, I thought you were going to go in a different direction, because there was one time where I was looking for a title. And this is something, I guess online could have circumvented the entire thing, but it was still kind of cool to say, like, oh, we don't have it in stock, but we can call a different branch and order it in from there, and you can pick it up later. Like, I like that. I know that I could just have bought it online in the first place, but it's still a cool thing to do.
So, like, what's a shame is that, like, economic strategies, business strategies that are not, like, mainstream are becoming less profitable, and since industries are becoming more efficient and faster movers and they're disrupting more quickly, like, it's harder to maintain, like, there's less discovery, I want to say. Like, you're less likely to walk into a store and find something that you didn't know you wanted.
That's the thing.
Because you were exploring.
Because that's the thing, like, things you may like on Amazon, they'll show you, like, 3 or 4 things, but, I mean, you have literally a whole store to wander around in if you're in a store. And by the way, though, there is a chance that stuff like this could turn around, though. I'm curious. Because remember, when downloadable titles started becoming a thing, physical video games, physical games had to fight back by having, like, everything has a collector's edition now. And you can argue people are getting burned out by those, but, like, if you're into that kind of thing, that's how physical titles remain relevant. I'm wondering if, like, to counteract people shopping online and getting the efficient thing, stores will have to compensate by having really damn good customer service. It's just tricky when everyone wants to hire summer job, like, teens who just don't give a shit. They're just like, let me just get my $10 an hour.
So that is a big issue. So, like, one example, so, Amazon, of course, part of the reason why all these toy stores are going out of business is partially because of Amazon, because they are so efficient and because they drive market prices down on so many things. But they are trying to open physical stores in some industries. And one example is the Amazon Go Shop, which is a supermarket. And it's much more efficient than a standard supermarket. Well, I mean, this was before they had Whole Foods. So Amazon Go is what I would expect the vision to be for what they're going to try to transform Whole Foods into. It's, like, practically a staffless store. Like, everything that you take off the shelf is charged to your Amazon account. They, when you pick something off the shelf and put it in your bag, it just, like, RFID swipes it, and it just gets credited off of your account when you walk out of the store. They know exactly what's in your bag, which means they don't have to hire any employees to do checkout for you. Everything is self-checkout. That means that the store is like much more efficient, but it creates many fewer jobs.
Not to mention that's really sterile. Like, that's something you'd see in like not a dystopia, but like in a negative depiction of the future kind of story.
Well, you correct for that. You make a you hire people to staff the store. Still, you hire people to give out free samples. It's still much less than you need to hire sales staff.
Sure.
Like, you can still have face-to-face interactions. Just there's no way that and you have to hire stock people. Somebody has to physically put the stuff on the, like, or at least man the robots to do it for you.
Yeah, but I mean, but stock people Unless you found that one of the shelves has gone empty during a shopping hour, like you don't normally see the stock people.
Sure, but like there will be other people in the store shopping, so you're not like totally alone. You're not by yourself, I think.
No, but that's like the internet, though. I'm talking to 100 people, but I'm still alone. Like when you're shopping, you're not chatting up with other customers. Like, yeah, there's a body over there, but so what? Like you're each just looking down and minding your own business.
But like, not everybody wants to go talk to their butcher or their like deli guy.
No, I know. Well, that's like what I was saying though. That is like a very other countries do that, but that is a very American thing. Like talking to strangers in public. Like I know that in other countries, like some of them, like they just don't do that anyway. But it's like
right.
it would be almost culture shock for us though to like just not have even if you're not in the mood to talk, that's fine. But like to not have the opportunity is a little weird.
Well, the point I was trying to make was just that if we have toy stores, they might look more like that kind of shop, or almost like an IKEA warehouse. You know, when you leave IKEA and you just go to the place, it's just a giant warehouse full of all the large furnishing items, and only a handful of staff that just helps you find the things that you're trying to find. Like that might be what Toys R Us looks like. I mean, that's. You can dress the shop up to look fun like a Toys R Us. Part of that is the ambiance. It isn't just like the fact that you're going to a toy store where basically like you assume like every person you meet is Willy Wonka. Basically.
Yeah, I know, like Duncan in Home Alone 2.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I just think it's a shame. I mean, maybe this will spur on somebody to come up with an idea of how to make it work in today's world, like you're saying. But they haven't done it yet. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so that always makes me worry, you know, if it's going to get replaced. I mean, so far, this has kind of happened with GameStop too. GameStop is the only dedicated video game retailer other than mom and pop shops.
Yeah, the only
country.
franchise. Yeah.
And that's mostly because they bought up all their competition. So now their only competition, just like Toys R Us, was Target's and Walmart's.
Yeah, pretty much. And Best Buy.
And Best Buy. You know, Best Buy is also, unfortunately, kind of still. They're struggling, but they're not doing terribly.
Yeah, Best Buy also compensates by like it's not a game store; it's a store that has games. But
yeah.
I will say though there was one time, this is like over a year ago at this point, but it was a minor thing, but it still resonated with me. Like I had bought something at my local Best Buy, forgot what or why, but whatever. So I bought something at the local Best Buy, and when I was leaving, someone who I assume was a manager like thanked me for shopping there, but like the way he said it made it sound like, you know, kind of like, thank God somebody was here. And I was just kind of like,
Yeah, I mean, it'll be a sad day indeed if Best Buy ends up closing or Barnes & Noble ends up closing. And
that would be a damn shame for Barnes & Noble. But Barnes & Noble seems to be learning with its, it's got a big online presence and stuff like that.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of the companies that are going with the times, like Nordstrom's is really good with that as well. I'm just naming big retailers at this point.
Yeah,
but...
and again, to be fair, part of this is because some stores didn't keep up with the times, and it's like, even though it sucks, it's kind of your own fault. It's not like there's nothing that could have been done, you know? Like Sears.
Sears is its own fault because they actually had one of the best tool brands in the entire country, and they squandered it.
And how about Kodak? They refused to go digital.
Yeah,
like Kodak just shot itself in the foot and then the head.
Yeah, you know that's their own fault, and you're right about
like
that.
You feel bad, but it's like, dude, come on. But like, I will feel bad if like Barnes and Nobles goes under because it's like they're making the right moves.
Some of it is also like partially political, and that not to get into like partisan politics, but we live in a time when finance is becoming less regulated, which means that you have less margin for error before your company gets purchased in a hostile takeover, that like a lot of the regulatory bodies that used to try to promote competition in industry, you know, allow to happen. So like that's why you're seeing these consolidations of a lot of businesses, because it's very easy to perform these mergers.
Yeah. I mean, in some ways, consolidation is good, but when it happens too much, it's bad because then you only end up with one company like GameStop. I mean, GameStop was what, 7 companies at one point. So like they were FuncoLand.
Yeah, that...
It was a Game Planet or Planet X.
Planet X.
Babbage's,
I remember. There was a Babbage's
Software, etc.
Game Crazy.
No, Game Crazy actually didn't get
that was something
absorbed.
else. Okay.
No, they were in Hollywood Videos.
Okay.
And those went out of business. But you get my point here. Is like the competition was good. Like competition was good because they were trying to outdo each other, and you had choice. Now you don't have any choice at all. You have, okay, I could go to GameStop or I could go to Walmart. They both suck. Like,
yeah.
you know,
or I could hope that there's like that I happen to live near a mom and pop shop. Like, I mean, even with like I'm in a good location for retro game stores, and the closest one is still like half hour away. Like there's like two stores that are like 25-30 minutes away. I can think of at least 3 others that are like an hour away. I could go to them, but like, man.
Yeah.
So, like to give you an example, I wanted to buy World of Final Fantasy after I heard Pyro talk about it on an episode of the podcast a long time ago. And, like, you can purchase it at a GameStop for $40 as a new Vita game, because I wanted the Vita version. Except, you know what it's like to buy, like, a copy of a game that's been out for a while at GameStop. Usually that's the only copy they have.
Shit copy
so you get the game that's probably been played by the store employees and has, like, the fucking sticker they reseal it with.
The sticker.
That, like, you have to use Goo-Gon to get the
residue,
the residue off,
sticky residue off of the case of the game, or I can go on Amazon where it's $27 and it will be shrink wrapped, and I know nobody's touched it. So like I can imagine it's real fucking hard for anybody to compete with that with what Amazon.
Yeah, well, that's kind of what I was saying earlier, though. Like that's when you offer the customer like experience, because I actually do enjoy the conversations I've had at GameStop, but it's just like, yeah,
sure, I don't want those people to like, most of the people I've interacted with at a GameStop are nice people who are knowledgeable about games. I don't like their model, but that doesn't mean that I want all the people who run the
they're not the ones
stores
who made the model anyway.
And I'll bring up something that happened to me today. So I went to a Best Buy with my girlfriend, and I wanted to buy a specific wire. It is it's something I don't even have in my stores of stuff. So I was looking for a headphone jack to female RCA, red and black, female RCA inputs. Now the reason why I want this is because the OSSC, the open source scan converter, takes this as input for audio in order to convert that for composite into HDMI. So I want this, and I know it has a very limited use, and also has a very small base of people that want this kind of thing for this and other uses. It's just an obscure thing. I went to Best Buy.
Wait, just real quick for clarification, that's the kind of thing. That's like a Y cable. That's like what you would have used for the Sega Genesis, like without SCART. Like that's how you would have gotten stereo audio on the Genesis. Like the headphone jack to the RC, like the red and white.
No, it would have gone to male. It would have gone to male. Because,
you're right. Okay.
Yeah, no, this is even more obscure.
Okay.
So they had that. They actually, the Best Buy actually had the headphone jack to male. So I was like, okay, well, if they have like a coupler where it can turn it into female,
good enough.
I can make this work, and they did, luckily. So total of that was $20, and I was like, okay, well, I'm just going to see if so that's 2 steps in order to get the 1 step I needed. So I said to myself, okay, let me take a look on Amazon to see if they even have the kind of cable that I need.
Well, for something like that, though, a tiny little wire is probably like $5.
So it's $6, and I'm like, well, screw this. I'm not going to buy a $20 half solution when I can get the real solution for $6.
Yeah, it's like HDMI cables. Like online, nobody gives a shit. But at Best Buy, they have those monster cables that are like $30 or something.
Yeah, and that's what I was just going to say. I was also going to buy SD cards.
Same thing there, yeah.
And I was going to buy a 256 gig one because I want to use it for my SIO, and I also want to use it for my Super System 3 for my PC Engine.
Mm-hmm.
So I can build my library on those things. The 256 gig one, which, like, think about that. You could buy a terabyte hard drive for
$80 last I checked, probably cheaper
$80
now.
$80. So granted, the technology is smaller than an SD card. I recognize that it's harder to make, but you already have the setup for it. It does not cost a lot of money to make at this point. Best Buy was charging $200 for that.
Yeah, no, cards are expensive at stores.
And then I go to Amazon, and the high-priced option, a really nice Samsung one, is $120. Same size.
I was gonna guess 140. It's even better.
Yeah. So, like, I can't justify, even though I don't like Amazon's practices.
Well, no, that's the thing. Like, I expect stores to be more expensive. I expect it to be the convenience.
$10 is okay. $20
that's
okay.
the thing.
Wow,
that's the thing.
You know, something like that.
There are some parts you can't look away. Like, do you remember Vice? I forgot if I took you there. I think I might have once. Do you remember that one retro store down Route 1 for me that I think it was called Retros? Did I ever take you to that place? I think I might have once. That place has a great selection, but the problem is that that's, like, even for what it is, it's expensive.
The pricing is fucked up.
It's bonkers. Because, like, I remember, like, I have never seen a copy of Armored Core, like, 5, for example, or 4 Answer. I mean, they're around, but I've never seen one, a physical copy for the PS3. And this place had them. I'm like, okay. So I look them up, and they're like $30. And I'm like, well, yeah, I never see that game around. But it turns out it's an underground game, and it's, like, online. It's, like, $10. So I'm like, I'm not paying fucking $30. Like, that's outrageous.
Yeah, so this is an $80 difference for the same product.
Yeah.
Actually, not even the same product. A better product is cheaper.
Yeah.
By $80. So it's so funny to me that this is the way it's come to.
So, and, like, let's remember that, like, Amazon, since you're purchasing this cheaper version of the product on Amazon, they take, like, tremendous taxpayer subsidies and pay, like, basically zero federal income tax. Which means that, like, as a salaried worker, not only, if you purchase this other $200 item, not only are you buying the more expensive version of it, but you're also still paying through your taxes for that portion of the discount that Amazon is passing on to its consumers who are actually, like, using its products. So you're paying twice almost, like, you're on this, like, $80 discount.
Yeah, now, like,
you're not wrong.
Here's the problem. We were talking about the problem with physical locations versus, like, Amazon, but I think it might actually be a bit more nuanced than that. I think the problem might be physical corporations versus Amazon. Because, like, at the mom and pop stores, a lot of the time what they'll do, again, I'm speaking with video game stuff, but a lot of what the time of what they'll do is they'll go to eBay, look up what an item costs, and they'll charge, like, $10 more for it or something, because they gotta make some money, and I get it. But, like, you're not doing that at a Best Buy. Like, you couldn't possibly. Like, this is what the prices are. Take it or leave it. Unless, like, the cashier is like, I'll shave off $5 because I don't get paid enough for this shit.
I understand their logic behind this. So, Best Buy is not catering to me in this instance. They're catering to the person who wants to go to their location to buy something like a camera.
Yeah.
They're buying a camera or some other thing that uses an SD card.
Yeah. And actually, when I went looking for SD cards, I couldn't find them. And, like, I didn't know where they were. I was like, how could I not know? And I asked an assistant. And
they're over in the camera section.
Yeah, the camera guy. I was like, oh.
So they're catering to people that want to go and try out the technology, buy it right then and there, and, like, also get advice on what to buy because they might not be an expert in
that's something else too. Yeah.
And so therefore they buy the SD card to go along with it because they need it.
Yeah, and it's right there.
And it's right there. And they just don't think about it. That is the kind of person that buys the $200 SD card that you could get for $120.
Mm-hmm.
So I understand that, but God, I wish I could support Best Buy. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's like borderline exploitative.
I wish I could.
So, I mean, it's also, like, like, let's remember, I think Lotus has a little bit of the right track in that when you're comparing these, like, large corporations versus mom and pop stores, like, when a single person or, a family, they own a store, they usually own that store because, like, it's their lifeblood.
They're supporting their kids.
They love doing.
And they might be willing to haggle.
And because they want to make just enough, obviously they want to live comfortably, but they want to make enough money to support themselves, their children, send their kids to college, and have a healthy retirement. So they have like a finite set of expenditures, a finite set of what they're measuring, their incoming revenue against. When you're talking about these large corporations, they're answerable to like shareholders and venture capitalists who are largely looking to maximize their profit. Don't really have any particular attachment to any industries,
or even their own employees.
Like a lot of the time, these huge businesses, you can imagine like if the founder is still in place, like their vision is still coherent, and they actually care about executing whatever plan like drove them to generate this, to form this corporation in the first place. But after that, it's anybody's guess. Like if Best Buy goes under, the people who own it probably don't really give a shit. They'll just run
the people they don't even love it like the original person who started
that's the whole thing
does. So I was actually talking about this to my girlfriend. We were talking about DuPont, and DuPont had got brought up because we were in Cape May, and you can actually see like DuPont from Cape May, like from Cape May Point, and in Delaware. And I was like, what was the big shame of that company is that they've sold off all their money making patents, like Kevlar and Teflon were both DuPont innovations, and they sold them off for a quick profit, not realizing, hey, they're probably what's keeping the doors open in DuPont. You need your bread and butter staples like that, or like General Electric is stopping making light bulbs. They were the first people to make light bulbs. They should be making the best light bulbs. It's kind of like that. And the people that are running DuPont are like descendants of DuPont, and they're just taking a paycheck from it, and they're just like saying, okay, well, I could sell Kevlar and make a few $1 million and more than a few $1 million and keep my lifestyle up. But they're not realizing that, hey, like the original founder of DuPont would never do that. He would never do that because he loved that company. Well, he brought it up from the very like he brought it up from the dirt.
Isn't it similar to Walmart? Like Walmart in its original state, I think, was actually a pretty good place to be, but like the descendants of the founder are what turned it into like the evil corporation that everyone loves to rail against.
Well, what I'm saying, Walmart's going to still be here though. That's kind of
it's too big.
Well, that's the opposite of my point. My point with DuPont is they're not going to be around, and nobody's going to care.
Yeah, no, my connection was that the descendants don't have the same vision that the founder did.
No, of course they don't, and they don't know what it's like to build up a company from being nothing.
Yeah.
The guy who originally started that, probably had to like fundraise and do all that stuff and go through like 20 years of hell before Sam Walton probably had to go through 20 years of hell before it became a viable really great place to retail at.
Mm-hmm.
So I just I'm more than willing to help out mom and pop place, but like I am not going to fall on an $80 sword for Best Buy when I could go to Amazon. They both are evil corporations, so like I'm going to support the one that's that has the better
the lesser
but if it were a mom and pop place, maybe I might think of spending $20 extra, $30 extra.
Yeah, exactly.
I came into the situation where there's a really awesome board game store in Westchester here, and they have the new Doom board game, I think, for $80.
Yeah.
I think Amazon's selling it for $70. I'm probably gonna buy it over there.
The store.
The store is awesome. It is basically like a warehouse of board games. There's tons of them all over the place. He has tons of stock. tons and tons and tons of stock. I've never seen this much stock in a mom and pop place.
Yeah.
I want this to be a place that sticks around. I will pay the mom and pop tax.
Yeah.
In order to ensure that something like this is here in the future. But I guess this is just my disappointment in this kind of thing. I wish... Like, Toys R Us had some really stupid policies, and one of them was pennying out video games like they penny out, like, toys. That is not what you should be doing with video games.
Yeah.
I don't know if you guys knew about this, but they would penny out, again, going back to our discussion, getting rid of stuff that's on your shelf at any price in order to bring in new stock. They would penny out like $60 games, and video games barely have any profitability when you sell physical versions of them. They, even Walmart might only make $10 off of a $60 game, for instance.
Yeah.
So pennying them out is an automatic loss, and you might get like a manufacturer's coupon or something for ones that you pennied out, but it's not going to be nearly to recoup your loss. But they would treat them like any out-of-fashion action figure, and that's not what you do with a $60 game. It's just stupid. So I think it's policies like that killed them. And, they weren't able to compete with, like, Bye Bye Baby, which is a baby store that Bed Bath & Beyond set up. And that store's doing fine, so that's effectively replacing Babies R Us.
Yeah, I was going to mention Babies R Us.
Babies R Us was like a big profitability center for them, for Toys R Us for a long time. It was the only real big baby store that new parents went to. You of course could buy some of the safety stuff and all that kind of stuff over at Walmart, but you didn't have the selection,
right? That
you would at Babies R Us. So I guess there's some replacement in Bye Bye Baby. So hopefully somebody will come up with a toy idea, a toy store idea that will work. I mean, even GameStop in the land of in the age of digital gaming has evolved. They bought ThinkGeek, and now they are kind of like a memorabilia shop first and foremost, which is okay. I'm okay with that.
Well, actually, by the way, when you said someone may come up with a new idea, what's funny is that they may come up with an old idea. Like, we talked about this on the phone, but remember when for the 360 the Kinect was first advertised, where it's like you can move your hands and then the option will be selected on the menu and stuff. And I was watching the Video Games Awesome Guys YouTube channel. Like, I was watching them watch the announcement, and they were like, is this going to be like the standard though? I could just imagine people in the future, and with a simple press of a button, you can do whatever you want on menus. And so I remember seeing commercials several years back. I think it might have been for Kmart, where they advertised the concept, like, guess what we're going to implement? We're going to implement layovers for items. Yeah. And my mom was like, excuse me, layovers is a fucking airport. Yeah, layaway. And my mom was like, oh, they had those when I was a kid. That's an old idea. It's just we dropped it, and maybe it can find its relevance again.
Yeah.
So I know that GameStop, obviously, they tried to get into game publishing a little while ago. I think they paid for Into the Deep,
and it was
a
good game too.
But I mean, that's not the kind of game. It almost feels like they're trying to go the Valve route and become an exclusive publisher of games that would drive people to come into their store to participate in their gaming culture. Obviously, they didn't produce anything like Dota or League of Legends that Valve can hang their hat off of, or Left 4 Dead, or any of these
Valve
major
also
multiplayer games.
Service they took a litmus test of the way the internet was going, and at the time iTunes was big, so they were we could be the iTunes of video games, and they have become the iTunes of video games.
Yeah, sure, but GameStop is already the GameStop of games. So, if there was some reason that you had to come in there for the service they already provide, which is the only physical dedicated game store left in the country, countrywide anyway, then then you can take advantage of that brand recognition. Like I said, obviously Valve does it more efficiently as long as you are not too attached to owning physical copies of games. But like GameStop already has that advantage. I think they were trying to leverage it, but they didn't pick a game which was like,
they picked
that.
an indie title rather than a AAA. A AAA, like a must-have AAA title would have been what they needed. Like a Halo. Like if they had come up with something as good and ubiquitous as Halo, that would have been it. But they came out with an indie title, which was a good indie title, from everything that I've heard. But they tried to sell special editions of it and stuff like that, and special editions are going to sell for well-known properties. That's really the end, long and short of it. And also, games that are going to like catch on. Those are the ones that are going to sell that, because you want the memorabilia.
Yeah, or at least companies you've heard of. Because like I was looking on the NIS store, and fucking Republic has a special edition that I never even knew about.
Yeah,
and like. What? Like, I remember when I first saw Republic, it was on GOG, and it was apparently, like, originally, like, a mobile title or something, and it was like, we have most of the episodes out, the game's not quite finished yet, but we'll let you know when it is, and then, like, now it's finally out, but there's a special edition on PS4, and it's like, what? It just baffles me.
Yeah, I mean, I think what you're saying is correct. They probably don't even have any other, plans to bring out anything else other than that game, Into the Deep. And the funny thing is they kind of tried to do this kind of thing earlier, but they went about it the wrong way. They bought Konjac, or I think it wasn't Konjac, it was Congregate, I'm sorry. Which was like basically like an internet mini game service where you could post up mini games that you've made, that kind of thing, almost like a Newgrounds almost. But like with less vitriol and all that kind of stuff, and probably better taste.
Yeah, I was gonna say high bar there.
Yeah. I mean, I love Newgrounds, but that's also like it's a relic of a time when the internet was a lot goofier.
That was like pre-YouTube. That was like unfiltered internet.
Oh. I know Congregate because one of my coworkers at CERN, like right before I finished my career in physics, he actually had played and beaten every single game on Congregate. If you went to his like badge profile, he had every single badge.
There were good games on that. But you don't hear about anybody talking about Congregate anymore. I mean, it's just one of those things. It's been replaced by many other things. But what they should have been doing is what we've been saying. They should have came out with some ubiquitous, like, must-have stuff.
Well, clearly they should have hired us to direct their strategy.
Making a AAA video game is also incredibly difficult, and very expensive.
Of course.
And unless you have the infrastructure to do so, it's like you don't see any new AAA companies come out, and there's a reason for that. It's because EA has the infrastructure. Activision has the infrastructure.
Yeah, probably the only one I could think of might be like CD Projekt Red. Like all of a sudden they just showed up and like took the internet by storm.
But they've been around for a long time. They made The Witcher.
Well, that's what I'm saying. They came up and made The Witcher in like the late 2000s, like as opposed to like Capcom, who's been here since the beginning and stuff like that.
Well, I'm talking about now specifically.
Oh, okay, now, all right.
Yeah, because it was a lot easier to have a AAA company, even 10 years ago, 15 years ago. I think 15 years ago is about about 10 years ago is about when the original Witcher came out, right?
Yeah, about 2007, I believe.
But I mean, some of this level of success is serendipity. There are lots and lots of fantastic independent developers who make amazing games that sell millions of copies, and Into the Deep just happened not to catch that like good fortune.
That's true.
I mean, part of what might make it work, I remember seeing like a game theory video that's like many years old, but like the reason certain games might get the hits that they do maybe because of like popular YouTube personalities. Like he was arguing that Flappy Bird, like, why should any of us have heard of Flappy Bird? But it might have been because like PewDiePie showed it off, and everyone's like, "Oh, I'll take a look at Flappy Bird," and then it kind of grew from there.
Sure. Well, before we get too long in the tooth here, I know, OldManStompy, you wanted to talk a little bit about WrestleMania.
Mm-hmm. Well, I would like to conclude, I guess, with one Toys R Us story, if we have time.
Sure, please do.
So I know I've told this story before, but like until a couple of years ago, like I had this like crippling fear of driving.
Yeah.
So for people who have not been longtime listeners of the podcast, I told this whole story many episodes ago. I basically didn't drive at all until I was like 32 or 33. I'm 35 right now, and at the time I was dating my now wife, and I had always felt really bad because at one time she was at an anime convention, like maybe 45 minutes from my house, and she had just asked me really simply. It was raining and she was waiting for the shuttle. She wanted me to come pick her up, and I was like, I can't get in the car. Like I'm shaking just thinking about it. And so she was really sad, but thankfully we didn't break up and we stayed together. That was not like the spoilers.
But thankfully we didn't break up.
So, fast forward like a couple of years down the road, and, it's like maybe 2 years. It's about 2 years ago, and I knew that we were thinking about getting married and moving out to Chicago. And I knew that, like, in the area that we were living in, I would have to learn how to drive. There's no way to live out there using mass transit like there is in the New York, New Jersey area.
Yeah.
And so I was like, I have to do this. I have to learn how to drive. So, November of the year before, or, October, November, like, Nintendo, they started releasing some amiibos I didn't have, and they started putting them at Toys R Us. And we discussed this a little while ago, because it's the same Toys R Us Lotus went to. It's on Route 1, which is not a major highway, but a very, very busy road. An incredibly awkward place. Like, there's no on-ramp to get out of it. You just have to drive, like, right out of the parking lot onto Route 1 and then, like, drive a little bit further down.
Yeah,
so,
I will say, as a new driver, that is intimidating. Because, like, what you do for people who may not drive is you drive into your neighborhood and then you work your way onto a highway. Like, you don't just get out of your house and there's the highway, but, like, that's how it is with Toys R Us. You have to find a way to turn onto the road while other cars are driving by at 55 miles an hour.
So I drove. So I did a little bit of local driving, but I had never really gone on Route 1 before. So I drove. So I was like, I have to go. I'm going to go pick up the Villager, the Animal Crossing, because that was like one of the rarest ones. It was the first generation. It was extremely difficult to get a hold of.
What you're telling me is your impetus to learn how to deal with driving was not to pick up...
I know what you're going to say. I know what you're going to say.
Was not to go pick up a cold and lonely Minty Mix, but to pick up a shitty piece of plastic.
Yeah, I mean, the Villager's rare, though.
Let me finish the story.
Vice, there weren't many of them in stock, okay?
So I go to the Nassau Park Shopping Center, which is a little bit upstream of upstream of Route 1 from Toys R Us, and I drive to the Home Depot, which is like right next to the Route 1 exit. I sit in the parking lot because I'm like freaking the fuck out, and I'm just like walking around the parking lot for like 20 minutes trying to get myself to calm down. And I get back in the car, I get on Route 1, I'm like, it's I merge into traffic, get into the Toys R Us parking lot. I'm so fucking excited. I jump out of my car, I run to the fucking Toys R Us. I buy the fucking Animal Crossing amiibo and all the other ones I didn't have that happened to be there at the time. I'm like singing to high heavens, internally.
Sure.
And I bet the cashiers have never seen like anybody so fucking happy to buy like a single amiibo at the age of 33.
I was gonna say, I'm so old.
Yeah. It was a personal triumph.
So I walk out back into the parking lot. I realize I was so amped up when I parked that I never turned the car off and the keys were still in the ignition.
Wow.
I get back in the car, I was like, wow,
holy
today's really my day. Nobody stole my car.
Yeah, I would be shaking if I found my car like that. Like I realized I had done that. I would have been like I would have had the jitters. Like, oh Jesus Christ! Like I almost made a huge mistake.
So I get back home with my treasures, and I call Minty Mitz on the phone. I'm like, I did it. I drove on Route 1. I picked up the amiibos, and she looks at me and she's like, "Are you fucking serious?"
Okay, so this wasn't lost on the situation. I see. Yes. Okay.
That's amazing.
It's like I called you to pick me up in the rain, and you couldn't fucking do it.
Well, Toys R Us is closer though. Toys R Us was like 15 minutes away.
I was like, no, wait. I did this. I guess I'm trying to ramp up so that I can drive us out to Chicago. We can start our new life together. It's like, I don't fucking care. I waited in the rain for 45. She's behind me right now. She's correct.
That's amazing. That's fantastic.
I'm glad I'm not the one to point this out.
That is,
and like I was. at the time I was living with my parents for a couple of months, and my dad he was walking around, he was just like shaking his head like son.
Even older man Stompy.
You only did this to yourself.
That's amazing.
Welcome to relationships.
Yeah, hey, guess what? Like, wife to be. Like, I got my toys.
And I can drive us out to Chicago so we can buy more toys together as a family.
I do kind of like, though, that you're driving test. Like, you kind of jump straight to Route 1.
Sorry, guys.
Like, you didn't drive around in the neighborhood until you hit a cul-de-sac. Like, the test is Route 1. That's kind of brutal.
Well, I mean, I had driven before. Like,
Oh,
it's not like
okay.
I had never driven in my life. You know, I just never driven on a road as intimidating as Route 1.
Yeah.
And, like, after that, like, things got easier. Like, you know, that year, I think in late January was MagFest, and I drove down to Tennessee.
All the way.
And then back up to MagFest, and then we drove out to Chicago, and, you know, now I've got, like, 18,000 miles on my car.
Yeah, there you go. Here's the funny thing, though, because, like, as far as highways are concerned, Route 1 is kind of tame. Like, I start to get intimidated when there are like 4+ lanes where it's kind of like whoa, but you know, my dad grew up in the Bronx.
A local county road.
What was that, Vice?
Or it sucks in comparison to a like a local county road or like a road in your neighborhood. I can see how that could be intimidating for somebody.
Yeah, like the hard part about highways is getting on and off, and what my real stopping point was changing lanes. I had such a problem changing lanes because I'm like, am I going to hit somebody because I wasn't good with my shoulder checking in mirrors yet? But like, my dad grew up in the Bronx, and like, New York City driving is a whole other level. And the funny thing was, when my dad was like in his 50s, he went like on vacation with my mom to I want to say Venice, and he was like, whoa, New York driving was nothing compared to this shit.
Oh, no.
Like the guide
you have
at
no
Venice
fear in Italy.
was telling people like how to cross the street. He was like, just do it. Just fucking go. Or they will not let you in. Just go. Like, they will stop because they don't want to commit a crime. Just walk. Do it. And it's like, wow. Like, it's terrifying.
Yep. Yeah, no, that's the way it is in Italy. I mean,
like my dad grew up on hard mode, but then he learned that there was expert difficulty.
Yeah.
My
like,
coworker told me
like
India is very similar.
Yeah, India's also brutal, yeah.
Yeah. Like, they don't want to splatter, like, body parts all over.
Yeah, I will not commit murder, and that's why I will slow down and not kill the man. But otherwise, if he's going to be a little wimp, I'm not letting him in. It's like, oh my god.
Yep.
Like, I thought New York was bad, and I was right, but it gets worse.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
that was our Toys R Us conversation.
No, it was a good conversation.
Now, about that WrestleMania.
I mean, we don't have to go too much into detail. We filled a good hour with Toys R Us discussion. I thought it was excellent.
Yeah.
I will just briefly give a shout out. So, you know, I've mentioned before the Fabulous Moolah.
Oh yeah,
I think so.
And so I heard a little bit about this, that they were thinking about having like a match to honor her or something like that.
So this whole year, you know, for the last like couple of years, I guess, they've been doing like the women's revolution in WWF, which means they finally have started treating the women's wrestlers like people.
Yeah, all it took was like 50 years
in their 30-year history. Well, yeah, obviously way before that, but 30 years specifically pertaining to WWE.
Okay.
So they've been doing, like, you know, just like they had the Women's Royal Rumble this year. At WrestleMania, they have a match called the Andre the Giant Memorial Battle Royal. It's a yearly institution that's been around for, like, I guess 5 years now. Which is just a big battle royal in the memory of Andre the Giant. They started it at WrestleMania 30 4 years ago. And so they thought, like, okay, well, let's have one for the women too. It'll be a good reason to get a bunch of female talent onto the main card of WrestleMania, which is something they tend to struggle to do, just because the show is so big and they have to try to fit everybody on it so that everybody can get their share of the pay-per-view bonuses for WrestleMania, so they can market everybody on the DVD. So they said, okay, we'll have a women's battle royal. Who do we have that we can honor? They already honored Mae Young with the Mae Young Classic last summer. So let's do the Fabulous Moolah. She's the longest reigning champion in women's history. But, like, she's also a gigantic fucking piece of shit who set women's wrestling back in the U.S.
Yeah, she basically pimped out all the women.
She drugged and pimped out female wrestlers who came under her care.
Yeah, it's fucked up.
So that they could be like pimped out to other promoters, other local promoters, and then she continued to like join the WWE, and her politicking set back the state of women's wrestling. She basically killed the entire WWF women's tag division just because she didn't want any of them becoming more popular than her. She was awful. And the E, they continue to celebrate her as though she's some amazing pioneer in women's wrestling because she kept everybody else down.
Yeah,
she was a really shitty wrestler, and
Hulk
as a
Hogan
result, like
very
most of
similar.
Yes, Hulk Hogan is also like a gigantic piece of shit in a lot of different ways. It's just he's more prolific and people like him better because he's more charismatic.
Yeah, but he did the same kind of shit. He kept a lot of the small guys down.
Yeah, that's just why he got away with it for so long, because he was charismatic and big.
Yeah.
But Moolah, I mean, so word got out that that they were planning. They actually announced the Fabulous Moolah Battle Royal last week on Raw, and there were some women who were actively wrestling for the company who knew nothing about her history, just because they had no reason to come into contact with anybody who told it to them. And a lot of these women, they're like young fitness models who get into wrestling at the age of 18 and just are not that well informed as to the history of the business because it's changed so much since then. And a lot of them, they just only heard hearsay from people who did not have such a negative view of Moolah, possibly because they benefited from her machinations, when they were coming up in the industries. So, what actually happened was that Snickers, who was the sponsor of WrestleMania this year, got a hold of the news, and they just called up WWF and sent them a Twitter message and said like, this is unacceptable, like outright, like we will not sponsor this match anymore.
Yeah, that's pretty intense. Yeah, I mean, 2018 is kind of the year of that, though. Like, it's kind of amazing.
I'm glad that a corporation was at Mars.
They're Mars Incorporated.
Mars is actually here in New Jersey. I'm really glad that a big company like that stood up for that issue in particular, like without being asked to. Like they just did it. Right.
It's a shame that like a million people speaking on Twitter have less power than like just the Mars Corporation by itself. Not that they don't represent a lot of people and like have a lot of employees. But I mean, it's better than nothing, and they announced that it would no longer be the Fabulous Moolah Battle Royal.
Wow.
And that the focus would be solely on the women.
Good.
It would be like the WWE Women's Battle Royal. WrestleMania Women's Battle Royal. That would be all it's called.
That's fine.
The other funny thing that came out of that was that Shinsuke Nakamura, he has his championship match coming up against AJ Styles. That's like the big, Smark favorite WrestleMania match. That's the SmackDown Championship match. They posted his like match photo, like the title card for their match, the one that they can use to promote it, and the Snickers logo was like really awkwardly placed so that it looked like it said like AJ Styles versus Shinsuke Snickers.
Nice.
Do you think his friends really call him Snickers? He changed his Twitter handle to read Shinsuke Snickers.
That's amazing. No, like I said, it's just like that Mystery Science Theater joke where like in the credits of some movie, somebody was like, I don't remember his name, but it was like John, quote, Boomer, like Smith. Like, do you think his friends really call him Boomer? I just love that.
So Snickers is the unsung hero of WrestleMania 34.
Dude, Shinsuke Snickers Nakamura, that's legendary.
I'm proud of them as, like I said, I think you have a good point, but I'm also glad that a company like that stood up for something before it was a PR disaster, before people complained about it.
Well, that's the thing, because we've had cases like this with other companies that I'm not going to go into, but those companies usually stood up because they were like, it's going to be bad if I don't, like, rather than because of principle.
Also, Snickers knew who the Fabulous Moolah was.
That's a good point. Somebody knew
what they were promoting, right away.
That is a good point.
So.
Well, they didn't dither about it. They didn't say like, well, let's wait until we hear both sides of the story or some shit like that.
They took a stance immediately.
Yeah, that's good.
Yeah.
So I guess now we know. I guess now we know what to do next time we're feeling hungry.
Well, I would like to think that we should tell our viewers to grab, a nice piece of fruit, a banana.
But if you have to get candy, then they're a good company to go.
Any bit of peeling helps keep the show going.
Any bit of delicious chocolate and caramel peanut crunch keeps the show going.
So there's a guy, you know how Reddit has that whole like banana for scale thing that's like a meme on the internet. Like for a while, if you had to show the scale of an object in a picture, you put a banana next to it. There was a wrestler, Austin Aries. He was like out of commission for a while. He had an injury, so he went on commentary. And like every fucking day, he would come out with a banana in his pocket, and people were wondering if he was doing that on purpose, just to like work up the internet fans and like the internet communities and get them like excited about how he was actually reading there. But he like never posted on there. They never knew if it was really the case or if
he just brought it out so you can see how big he is in comparison to his own banana.
Yes. So like yeah, internet fans are extremely easy to get like worked up over all kinds of things. Daniel Bryan's doing it right now. He retired due to like severe concussion injuries, but he's teasing the fact that he might like step out for a portion of a match at Wrestlemania 34, and like, you know, everybody lives or dies. He's like the most beloved star in the last like 10 or 15 years. So like people will fucking live or die in everything that he says.
That's awesome. Well, do you have any other final remarks about WrestleMania before we get going for the week?
Well, we covered the big stuff. Obviously, the biggest and most salient piece of news was the Fabulous Moolah stuff, and the other stuff will develop more over the course of the next few weeks. You know, the big show is at the start of April, so we'll talk more about it.
I guess I'll say this. I mean, the fact that they dropped her from the title further ensures that they will continue to make Fabulous Moolah. They don't call me Lotus, the funniest guy on the internet, Prince, at all.
And now we know why.
Your punishment is dead air.
You can find him. You can find him on Twitter as @Lotus, the funniest guy on the internet, Prince.
Someone's gonna type it. Oh man, it's not me, trick me.
Plays Drakengard to torture himself.
Yeah. What are you playing lately? What games are you into?
Since we mentioned that one small aside from the WrestleMania build, so Shane McMahon's the commissioner of SmackDown, and he got the crap kicked out of him by one of the heels on the show, and so the guy got on social media and he put a little like video on his Twitter, and he's like hashtag I'm sorry I did that. Wait, actually, it felt really good. Fuck you. like
good efficient hashtag. Yeah.
like basically the length of a tweet by itself.
Wow. This guy hashtags.
Yeah.
Hash brag. Okay. Well, that's the show for this week. Please remember to subscribe to the Corrective Consciousness YouTube and Soundcloud pages. While there, please give us thumbs ups, likes, and 5-star ratings on iTunes. I can't believe I can read this better than the intro, which would be a better way of showing off the podcast. It helps.
Well, maybe we should start with the outro, and then
we should do the entire podcast backwards.
Start strong.
It helps us promote and spread awareness of the show, and I'm much more literate here. And any bit of encouragement helps me not make banana jokes. You can catch us on Tuesday on our sister podcast, Corrective Consciousness, the podcast about our lives and pop culture. Finally, you can friend me as vysethebold on Steam, PSN, Xbox Live, Twitter, Battle.net, Switch, and
whatever the hell else. I don't know.
Every Toys R Us.
all one of them, I guess.
Every Toys R Us location, yes.
Sure. You can follow me on my YouTube channel, Lotus Prince. You can hit me up on Twitter at Lotus Prince. That's all it is, just @Lotus Prince. And finally, if you are interested in seeing my videos early, getting in on exclusive live streams, or even selecting upcoming games for me to Let's Play, then perhaps consider swinging by my Patreon account, which can be found at patreon.com/LotusPrince.
Please make him play something very embarrassing. Please pick
I will say this. I have established as that perk on Patreon, like, I have the right to say no.
You will not play Omega Labyrinth Z.
That would be something you might play.
I don't even know what that is. I mean, I heard the name.
Oh, it's a game that just got banned from the UK. It's a dungeon crawling RPG with scantily clad Japanese.
Oh, I gotcha. No, look.
It's like another level above Syndrome.
No, but like no. But my point is, I've said that I reserve the right to refuse games for whatever reason, whether it's because I can't get them. Like, I'm not playing Rise. I don't have an Xbox One, or if like for some reason I really think this isn't going to work. But I haven't refused anything yet. I haven't gotten any like request that's like
for like rape play.
Yeah, no one's requested me to do like porn games or anything like that. So far, so good.
Oh yeah, that's what I. Please play the guy game. That way you're broadcasting.
Yeah, please play the literal child porn and get arrested by the FBI. It's fine, or by Homeland Security. Like that it is literally a crime to own and play that game. I'm not gonna play that one. I will not break the law by matching your. That was the funny thing. I don't think that's how the age limit or the age restriction works in the UK, because I remember Guru Larry did a video about like. I forgot what it was, but like bad marketing or poor decisions made in games, and he mentioned that like according to U.S. law, that counts as child pornography. So I guess I could go to England and play it and feel dirty anyway, despite not having technically broken a law. Anyway, that's my outro. How about you, OldManStompy?
Well, you can find me having a lovely dinner with my wife, who I love very much,
and would pick her up at any.
Yeah, I would travel. I would climb the highest mountain. I just wouldn't drive 45 minutes.
So, well, you should probably leave us alone because I have much to attend for.
Indeed, you do. But
should we keep that in? I heard her say that. You're like, yes, you do.
Yeah, no,
okay. We're leaving it in. I might amplify it even.
We are live and uncut here at Reactive Consciousness.
All right. Well, we will see you next week on CoreCon.
Until next time, everyone.
Bye.